pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please call roll.
Director Garamendi,
Present.
Director Ratterman,
Here.
Director Robertson,
Present.
President Davidson,
Here.
and Director Thomas is on his way.
In theory. Okay, the second item on the agenda is public comment. At this time, members of the public may address the board on any non-agendized item. Public is encouraged to work for your staff to place items on the agenda for board consideration. No action will be taken on matters not listed on the agenda. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. Is there any public comment today? Come on forward.
My name's Greg Popovich. I've got, I bought unit 3 and 3A out there at Forest Meadows. I've got 16 lots in the subdivision. And I built some spec homes out there and I want to do some more. When I bought the lots, they told me that the water and sewers could be transferred from lot to lot as I built or however it worked. I successfully did that in the beginning, transferred a connection and hookup to a lot that was much easier to build on than the one that I was doing in order to save costs, which I need to do again now due to what the economy is doing with the housing right now. The thing is that with that, I guess that the sewer and water was transferred once before, and they told me I can't do it again. And so I didn't transfer it, but what I'd be willing to do is to transfer it if I'm allowed to a lot that I would build on. I'd be pulling building permit and everything so that you can see that it's not in vain or anything. I'd be actually using that water hookup, which would obviously generate income and things like that for you. It'd give me able to build on a lot that's much more buildable. The lot that it's on is pretty darn steep, and my foundation would be probably about 80 grand by the time I was done, just do the foundation. So if I could move that water and sewer hookup to a much nicer and much gentler lot, I could start on a spec home, save the foundation money and bring the price to where I can get it sold instead of not get it sold.
We can't really get into a lot of discussion about it, but I assume that you made an application to do that already.
Yeah, and they told me that it had been done once already. And I guess in the bylaws or something, it says you can't do it over once.
Okay. Is that something we want to throw on the
Yeah,
engineering committee?
We'll take a look at the policy and we'll make sure we get in touch with you. Do we have your contact information?
No, I'll leave a business card.
Sure, if you could give it to Rebecca here and we'll get back to you.
And then if you guys want to add to your facility over there in Forest Meadows, I own 40 acres around it and that old maintenance shed and everything else. So if you guys want to talk about that sometime, I'd be more than happy to talk to you about possibly doing an expansion with you or however, a joint venture or whatever. It's
How about instead of that, you buy the whole system from us?
I don't. That's the big reason I didn't buy that golf course. So anyways, I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Greg.
And
We'll get back to you.
that has,
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
the email on there goes through a router. So
All right, thank you.
thank you.
We'll definitely look into it for you. All right. Is there any other public comment? Nobody online? Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. The following items are expected to be routine, non-controversial. Items will be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion. Any board member may request that an item be removed for later discussion. 3A, approval of the minutes of August 27th. 3B, a review of director's monthly timesheets for August. And 3C, ratify claim summary 642. Can I get a motion for acceptance?
So moved.
A motion to second?
A second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll go on to new business 4A, discussion action regarding approval of district's financial management policy. Definitely.
Good morning, or good afternoon, Mr. President, members of the board. The item before you today is to be able to update our financial management policy 5.07, our credit card use policy. This item was brought to the Finance Committee. They reviewed it and recommended it come to the full board. There's only several changes that we made in this particular policy that was originally adopted back in 2020. We removed references to the district board members as they do not participate in the CalCard program. We eliminated language checking out temporary CalCards because we do not do that. And we removed submission of fuel card logs, which are no longer required. The Damon, whose group has most of the WEX cards, he reviews the monthly printouts statement and goes over it, so there are no logs that need to be submitted. And with that, I request your board to adopt the resolution to update the credit card use policy.
I have a motion for acceptance.
So moved.
A motion and second.
Second. I do have a question though, to the finance committee, to either Jack or Jeff. What, did you guys go through these red line marks?
We went through it carefully, asked a couple of questions, and it made perfect sense
Okay,
to us, everything he was asking.
It all seemed pretty straightforward.
got it. Yeah, okay, because I did see an awful lot of red line in there. And with this, I did notice that entire sections are gonna be taken out. Is it renumbered accordingly?
Yes.
I gotcha. All right.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Is there any public comment? Please call the roll.
Director Garamendi,
Yes.
Director Thomas,
I'm in favor of that.
Here,
Director Ratterman,
yes.
Director Robertson,
Yes.
and President Davidson.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, 4B, discussion, approval of change order for additional paving on on Jenny Lind AB transmission line. That's it.
Good afternoon, directors. Okay, so I was talking about today we're talking about the additional paving that was requested by the county on Hart-Vixen as part of the A to B transmission pipeline. So as part of our project, we were paving one side of the road per the county paving ordinances, and the county is going to chip in for the cost on the other half of the roadway. So the original contract was issued to DA Woods for the construction of the A to B transmission line. That's our 14 and 12-inch transmission line that we're working on right now, and we're almost done with the main line installation. And then they'll draw back and do the PRVs, and they have to replace all service laterals. And then after all that's done, then they'll pave the road. So that contract was issued to DA Woods back in March of 2024. And so in the October timeframe of 2024, that's when the agreement with the county was made for the additional paving at Hart-Vixen. So the agreement we have with the county, the MOU, is for them to reimburse up to $500,000 of the cost. So the proposed change order covers additional paving on Hart-Vixen that's part of the MOU. Some adjustments to there were some changes on the trench paving quantities and the overlay quantities on some other areas. But they're pretty much pluses and minuses that all equal out to pretty much a net either cost savings or basically a net zero. And then the parts on Baldwin that are part of this change order won't be billed to the county. We'll just be billing them for the asphalt that's on their portion of the roadway of Hart-Vixen. There's also, the counties allude to us that they also want to do us to add some additional paving to pave all the way down to Vista Lago by our paving contractors out there. So no official agreements in place for that, but we need to execute this change order because they're going to need to kind of finalize some of the quantities that we've done for the trench paving.
So for the additional paving, will there be another contract with the county and another contract with DA Woods?
Yes, if we end up doing this, the rest of it, Hart-Vixen all the way down to Vista del Lago, we'll have a separate MOU or amendment to this MOU that'll provide more compensation for the rest of the paving.
Gotcha. That's pretty nice. That's different than what we used to have, working with, the county. That is good to see we're coordinating that close with them. That always hasn't always been that way.
Yeah, I mean, it puts a lot more burden on us. You know, we're not paving or water districts, so I mean, it's good and bad in my take, but we try to help out when we can, the community.
But basically, it's no cost to us because we're reimbursed for what we pay.
Yes, yeah, there's, so part of the cost savings that we had is initially we were gonna have to grind out our half of the road and put the road back. But now we're doing an overlay, so we're putting 2 inches on top of the roadway. And then there'll be 2 inches on the other half of the roadway. You know, so because you would have to match the existing crown in the middle of the road if you only did half the road. So there's some cost savings on that, but then there's extra cost, because now you have to raise the shoulders up to match the pavement. Now all the valve cans and stuff that are in the road are too low. So there's a lot of, and then also when you go through the intersections, you still have to grind there and kind of taper it out through the intersections. So you don't get this like 2 inch, jump up as you
Speed
go
bump,
through the
yeah.
intersection, speed bump. So there's that's why the change order has a lot of different items on it. Because there's a lot of stuff that has to be taken into account, a lot of deductions and adds. It wasn't as simple as the MOU that was entered into with the county originally. It had like 3 line items. There was a lot more to the scope of work than what was written in that MOU.
How are we doing as far as, are there any other cost overruns on this project or any of the issues with the rock or?
Yeah, there's the rock. We're gonna probably have a change order for the rock. It's gonna be less than $100,000, I think, at this point. And yes, we've been tracking T&M tags with the contractor and keeping track of all.
We had contingency in the original agreement for that or?
Yeah, we have enough budget to cover the change orders in the CIP.
So, but you think the total of hard digging is gonna be $100,000?
There was 50,000 allotted in the original, and I think we're projecting around $60,000 on top of that. But we were gonna write a final change order once they're done to shore it up, so we don't write a bunch of individual change
But
orders.
we're keeping track of it.
We're keeping track of it, so on daily extra work tags in the field, it's forced count work, so that means we track it daily with the contractor.
The county's got their CIP. This is on, I think this might be on their CIP. So they do have the money set aside before we
Yeah.
start work. They've got it identified.
Yeah, we have a formal MOU agreement. It's in the in here where there's no going back at this point because the trench paving, we put 2 inches down. So if we don't do an overlay, we'll end up having to dig it out and put the trench paving in more because when you put an overlay, it gives you 4 inches total. And so now if we have to go back and grind 2 inches off or it's there's no going back. It's done. The MOU, we're taking that as a solid agreement.
Okay.
Are you speaking with someone with the knowledge of the numbers?
I just want to make sure the money's in the right account. I trust a handshake, but I don't mind a signature.
It appears that he signed the MOU anyway.
Did I sign the MOU? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did.
See that?
I just want to make sure it's all there.
You're personally responsible.
So the recommendation to the board is that we authorize the general manager to execute the change order up to the
Good for you.
$500,000.
Okay,
I'll make the motion as presented.
Second.
all right, we have a motion and a second. So just before we wrap it up, I mean, it's, sounds like we're going up the hill to the tank. We're getting close.
Yeah, we're working down the hill from the tank, but yes, they're getting close. They had a little issues today, but they're moving along.
And then after that, then they'll start doing the laterals.
Yeah, they go back and they have to finish the PRVs, because those, in order to put the new laterals on, you want the pressures to be lower. So they're gonna go through and get the new transmission main service, get the PRVs operating. There's a couple valves that we have to cut into the line to isolate it and give you boundary valves on your new pressure zones. And then they'll come and do the service lines.
When will it be operational?
We're thinking in the springtime, they'll be, so the service lines are gonna take a while. It's pretty complicated because there's multiple shutdowns that they have to do because we don't want to shut everybody down at once. That's why we're trying to do the PRVs first, so we don't shut everybody down. to do the outages. So it's gonna take a little while to do the service lines.
But our goal would be, you know, before the heat comes next summer, correct?
Yeah, I think we're looking at like probably March, April is when they should be done.
Okay, great. All right, any public comment? Please call the roll.
Director Garamendi.
Yes.
Director Thomas.
Yes.
Director Ratterman.
Yes.
Director Robertson.
Yes.
President Davidson.
Yes. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to monthly operations report. No slideshow?
Of course there.
So, once again, the month of August was an uneventful month out in the fields.
No news, good news.
Facetiously
Uneventful.
speaking.
They just lounging around in the pickup trucks.
Yeah. 65 service line repairs across the 6 water systems. And you'll see a little bit of this in the report, but 400 plus USA's underground service mains our folks respond to. So they have 48 hours to respond and mark or write, no conflict with water or sewer. 171 of those are up on lands passed. So,
Who's doing what kind of work?
well, a lot of that is PG&E undergrounding. So PG&E is taking all their above ground infrastructure and putting it underground.
I think we drove past it yesterday.
Yeah, they're really bolstering the transmission system, right? Yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah, I thought we would start again down in Rancho Calaveras because we've taken a break there. Past couple ops reports. This goes on. Okay, perfect. And so this is an interesting one. Excuse me. Clements Place, kind of hard to see, but 4 separate leaks are on that service lateral that has 1,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4 full circle clamps on it already. So the guys, when they find stuff like this, they just go ahead and replace that section. You can see what they cut out in the image on the left. They actually cut out at the tap too. It was leaking at the tap. So they put a whole new tap saddle on and then run a new section of poly tube. So that's what a new tap saddle looks like. You can see it on the main, the AC main there at the top of the screen. And this is kind of what the old tap, it's just threaded right into that old AC pipe. So a lot of the time the threads, you need the epoxy around the threads will break. So, just more of the same. I think the Genuine crew had 45 repairs on mains and on service lines in the month of August. So you can see that's kind of the hole they're working in, the image on the left, and then the backfill with the temporary asphalt in the image on the right. This was a USA related to PG&E setting power poles off of Highway 26. Not a lot of water, but there's some. So this auger bit bored into our 6-inch water main. So the challenge here is when our folks respond is to not just completely shut that off and allow all that muddy water to flow back into the system. So you really want to keep positive pressure until you can clean and expose the area and then get in there and make a repair.
So do you shut the water down a little bit?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So the hole where they've already just have that kind of just boiling out. You minimize so that you can overcome the water that's coming out of the hole with the vacuum truck is really what you want to do.
Gotcha.
So you can expose it, see what's going on, and then you clean that area, and then you can put a full circle clamp, like the image on the right, and avoid a boiling water advisory.
So why would they be drilling anywhere near up? I mean, we've got good maps, they've got metal
Well,
detection,
We don't have good maps.
we
Yeah,
don't-
so that's the challenge is so kind of throw it all into the pot, depends on the location. It could be the map. It could be a locate bust. So this pipe can be very difficult to locate. This asbestos cement, if it doesn't have a wire on it,
Was that one of the 400 USA fines that we did?
that would be, so this would be one, I believe. I'm not sure if this was a USA locate bust on our end, but there's a lot of back and forth between PG&E and the utilities. If we mismark and we tell them, no, there's nothing right there, go ahead and dig. If they hit it, it's on us to repair it. If we mark it and they hit it, then it's, and so we have a little bit of back and forth that goes on there. PG&E usually has a minder on the job to help account for this work. And then obviously the ops folks here are up to speed on what happens. But there's so much work going on that invariably CCWD comes out ahead at the end of the month.
But at the end of the day, literally at the end of the day, can you still see those marks? Do you know where
Yes,
they?
Well, it depends on if, unless they took the asphalt out, unless it's just plumb gone.
Right.
And you might have to, so some of those USAs are what we call remarks. So, hey, we need you to come back now. We've done a bunch of work. Now we don't know where the heck anything is anymore. Can you come back and mark it again? So that'll happen. So.
Damon, I have a question.
Yeah.
You call that a concrete pipe. Is that what most people would refer to as transite?
That is, yeah, I believe AC, some folks call that transit, yes.
But how widespread is that material used in?
I think I would say about 75 to 80% of our systems are this pipe, AC transit.
Throughout the county?
Throughout the county, yeah, yeah. And then the rest of that 25 to 30 would be C900, plastic, PVC, ductile iron, some steel. Not a lot of that left anymore.
So we have an earthquake here. Is that stuff likely to crack and rupture in multiple places?
Excellent question. So I can show you, actually, not even an earthquake, when the soil changed, like when the
Expansion, contraction.
yes, when the humidity or the amount of water content in soil changes. Usually we see this in the springtime or in the fall. We'll get on AC pipe, we'll get what's called a shear break. So the ground will shift and it'll just like a perfect circle, like a crack, perfectly around the pipe. And that it's a quick repair, but we usually see that when the conditions of the soil change. And so if you were to imagine an earthquake, you know, of some magnitude, yeah, we'd have a lot of breaks, for sure. Valve raise, we talk about this monthly. This is always a good idea when you find a buried valve, bring it up to grade. Kind of like part of the conversation that Kevin was talking about with paving. It's always a challenge when it comes to paving. We're not on the ball and we're not locating our valves, and you know, there's not a conversation about who's got the grade rings and who's got the valve lid. We will run into that situation where they can be buried. This is an interesting one. So we had to cut in and replace a valve so that we could shut a water line off to fix a leak. So here folks cutting into the asphalt. So you can see, like, if there was a USA here, how, you know, and that asphalt is in really good condition. I'm kidding, but you know, how it could just disappear after the work's taking place, and you have to get in there and redo the USA marks. And so here we are. We have an old valve. This looks to me like bluebell pipe, I would say. So this is really thin walled and prone to breaking when you look at it wrong. So our guys have to jump in and they have to cut this valve out. Excuse me. Then they have to install a valve, and then that allows them to then cut in a section of the PVC pipe, which is strong and sturdy, and tie it into the existing pipe. So this is that shear break I was talking about. So the soil just kind of changed here, and that pipe just broke. And the image on the right, you can kind of see water spraying out. It's just kind of like this perfect circle around the pipe. And usually those are repaired with a full circle pipe. This is an interesting one. So a hand dig repair on a service line going up a hill. It's kind of hard to see in the image on the left, but our operator, you can see him laying down. He's on the embankment, just laying there, pulling out old sacks of concrete that were just placed on top of the service line to keep it, you know, stable. So we could then get in there and replace the service. So that's what you see are the old sacks of concrete laying at the base of the hill there. So he can make the repair.
Does he have to see a chiropractor afterwards?
Probably, yeah. Sometimes you just need a hug. A hug them sometimes.
Oh, you're a good man.
Especially in some muddy stuff like this, right? So this is 1 inch service line repair. So you can see this gives you a kind of a window. It's kind of hard to see, but into how a lot of our services are plumbed. One service lateral coming from the main, feeding a manifold that feeds 2 water meters. You can kind of see that in the image on the right. And then one of these sprung a leak on the bottom of what's called the curb stop. And so folks get in there, tear everything out, fix what has to be fixed, and then put everything back. So you can kind of see that there. Here's another 1-inch service. So just pretty straightforward full circle clamp repair on this 1-inch service up on Evans Pass. Here's a 1-inch meter install. Here you go. You got another different manifold. This one is actually with just a poly tube and a T. So the image on the right got 2 lines going to 2 meter boxes and 2 water meters. And then our folks will get in there and set the meters, clean it all, and make it nice, landscaped, if you will. And so that's the end result of the image on the right. PRV inspections, we talk about how variable the pressure is up on its pass and the number of pressure reducing valves we have in the hundreds. This one is, as you can see in this image here, it's kind of hard to see on the left, but it's pretty old. And so these are the kind of PRVs we're hoping that we can replace, ideally with some of the grant funds from the AMI project, get up there and allow us to optimize the pressure throughout all of the systems, which in turn results in a reduction in energy use and equates to more accurate water supply to the meters. So folks get in there, do maintenance on these PRVs. It's critical. If they fail, you send high pressure to community or residents, and it results in a lot of issues on the homeowner. So this work happened actually in September. So I'll share pictures of this from the image on the left, but there's a full circle clamp there in the right. See that kind of that stainless steel looking clamp in the image, and that's a pup of a section of pipe. Well, that sprung leak some years ago, but it feeds the shopping center, the Big Tree Shopping Center. So in order to replace that, because that's not, a permanent fix, we have to come in at night and shut that down when most of the businesses, if not all of them, I believe, are closed. And so this is just assessing that work. The construction crew is going to go out, they're going to get their materials list, they're going to make a plan with the distribution crew, and then they'll jump in and get it done. Interestingly, this past month of August, there's a lot of use on the slurry line. 2 customers were using a heck of a lot of water, and they were noticing that there was water quality issues. We would get a lot of turbid water, and the pressure would fluctuate. And we went out and investigated, and the water coming in from the canal was great. We have a pressure reducing station on that pipeline. There were no issues there. And then we're pretty confident that the amount of draw they were taking at any point in time, they were actually almost kind of fighting each other. And so it's something we're going to need to pay attention to in the future. They each have 1-inch, 1.5 inch connections, and they're some distance from each other, but obviously the speed at which they pull water will affect the speed at which that pressure reducing valve will operate and can allow that water line to somewhat fluctuate. And so dirt can become stirred up in the bottom of the pipe, and they can pull it into their water trucks.
So the turbidity was like lining of the pipe or something, or?
It's dirt, sediment, sand that has been in there for,
How can where you have the clamp underneath? I mean, that looks like 1-inch thick steel all the way around. How would it, does it crack? Does it just erode till it leaks, or?
I'm not sure the circumstances of how the original leak occurred, but if you guys look at the top of that box, you see that bypass pipe, and you see how it's got a flange there. So ultimately there's a T there that connects to that bypass pipe. It was okay. So it was a weld.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And so as you guys know, when you're in the ground, or when you have to deal with gas, you're going to see the metal's going to behave differently. And I have some pictures of that here in an upcoming work order slide. So this is a really cool one. So this is an interesting. I'm not sure how that fire hydrant was originally installed like that. You have this really nice sidewalk, and then you have this little I don't know, is that decomposed granite or pea gravel little section of the sidewalk, because the fire hydrant was plumbed to the back end of the sidewalk. We'll just make some pea gravel. So our guys ID'd this, worked with this was, I believe, was this Copper Cove HOA? Copper Hills HOA. Worked with the HOA. The property owner that owns that white fence was great to work with, because there needed to be a little bit of relocate. And then our construction crew came in, broke that up, and then they poured the rest of the sidewalk and pushed the fire hydrant up onto the embankment just a little bit. Fire department still has access, get right up to that fire hydrant, and then that fence was moved to the better. So just improving the system in general, you know, for everybody. This just aesthetically, obviously, it looks way better. There's still fire access, and everybody, you know, everybody's happy. So this was a great, pretty straightforward. This is interesting. Construction crew worked in copper to remove a bunch of plant matter that just grows around the sewer pump. So this is housekeeping. You know, the treatment operators really want to keep sewer ponds as clean as possible. So they'll work with the construction crew and they'll bring out equipment like the mini excavator and they'll haul all that off. And then ultimately the ponds end up looking like ponds in the park, which is what you want them to look, really sanitary. So hats off to the guys who are doing that work. This is improving the West Point shop. So not only were the guys improving the drainage at the shop, they covered this in base rock, and they also ran a water line to where we keep our base rock for leak repair. So that's our backfill material when we fix it. One of these 60+ service lines is with class 2AB base rock. And so now the folks in West Point have water that they can use to spray down the base rock in the summertime and keep the dust out down. Forest Meadows UV system. So this disinfects the treated wastewater after it's flowed through the filters. And there was a walkway in the image on the left where you could walk around that UV trough. So it's full of water with ultraviolet light bulbs and disinfecting the water as it flows underneath the bulbs, right? And so it was, the trough was kind of chest high to me. So it makes it really hard to try to get over here and pull out those UV bulb units. You have to use gantry cranes, some sort of crane. So the operators worked with the mechanics and they built a walkway that you can then run a crane on. So the image on the right, you can now push a crane across the top of that and you can pull the bulbs up, use a hoist, do your work, and you're kind of ground level with everything. So
there's one to submit to JP.
that's another one.
It-
Yeah, yeah,
And that's exactly what
Yes.
they're looking for.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Done.
There's
Done. Yeah.
there's an award and probably a little money,
Yeah, yeah.
cash
Yeah.
for employees right
Right.
there.
There it is. All right.
Is that a guarantee?
Almost. I don't judge them, but
So,
Same guarantee as Jack's signature.
Yeah.
this is great. I can't enforce it. Kind of subtle, but a couple things will tell you that this
Retroactive
sewer main.
responsibility.
Can you guys tell me how you would know that this was a sewer main leak? There's one though. Yeah, the gloves, right? The blue gloves. And then the other one is Eli in the image on the right, looking at his hands. I think that's just like one of the greatest pictures I've seen. in
what's
time.
what's he saying? What's that?
He's just kind of like, but you know what's great about it?
Need a new job.
Is
that one or two?
right back in it, right back after. Yeah. This is Vallecito. Vallecito, the sewer lines are all over the map. You can see that image on the right. It's pretty much been blasted by the auger from PG&E trying to get in there and put that. And this is how close we were to that pole. They just set that pole.
Wow.
Look, the image on the left, I mean, there's the pole, the chain's still on it. You know, so those guys are moving, they're moving fast. So hats off to the county for working close to those guys. John is a busy man over there. Some interesting ones from electrical, UPS. So this is the West Point water treatment facility. There's a backup generator for the whole facility, but when the power goes out, the analytical equipment, the power goes down for like 5 seconds and then it kicks back on. When that happens in a water plant, alarms are thrown. You consider the turbidity is off the charts, the chlorine residual is gone, it shuts the plant down. So our electricians worked with the operators and installed uninterruptible power systems on the analytical equipment. So it's a subtle thing, but it allows the plant to just not skip a beat. If the power goes out, it just doesn't even know it. So
That's a battery.
yep, the battery. And so they put that on a regimen to replace approximately every 5 years in that for the UPS. This is our Acorn pump station. You guys may have heard of the Acorn pump station. So this is the secondary pump from the middle fork of the McCullough River pump station. So this is our secondary source of supply for the West Point water treatment plant.
CPUD's water?
That's correct. Yep. So this pump station is on the Calaveras Band of Miwok Native Americans proper. And so this boosts the pressure and allows this water to get all the way to the plant or to the Bummerville Reservoir, either or. So when the plant shuts off, these pumps still operate and they push water to the reservoir. When the plant kicks on, it'll draw from the reservoir, draw from the line, depending hydraulically on how it's. But it's quite an antiquated pump station, and invariably, this was a breaker ship, but invariably we had issues there. And so the engineering team and CCWD over the years has worked on projects to replace this whole conveyance system to improve it. So that work will continue. This was that I kind of wanted to highlight what gases can do to piping in the image on the left. So that's an electrical conduit holding a float in the image on the left over that equalization basin in Vallecito. So right over those brown tanks is a big 26,000 gallon basin that's in the ground. You can walk on the lid and it's full of pumps, and they push the liquid sewage into the membrane bioreactor plant. And the hydrogen sulfide and the other gases just eat that metal away. So that conduit on the right.
What kind of metal?
So that it looks like it's a piece of galvanized tied into some plastic in the image on the left, but in the image on the right, that is elastomeric coated steel. So this is kind of the most robust type of conduit you can get these days. And so as long as you don't nick that coating, and as long as you have those threads covered, you shouldn't experience corrosion at the frequent, it shouldn't last for years and years compared to what happened. So here's the bucket truck in action. So this is I guess we would call this the West Point wastewater treatment plant at some point in time, but this is still kind of the Wilseyville area of that. And so this is really pointing all of our site radios at the facility to where they need to see so they can communicate, and we can communicate with our infrastructure. And so Jared's operating the boom from the boom. And then we have folks down here on the ground, looks like a subcontractor working on the job near the generator in the image on the left.
And we're getting close to wrapping that project up.
We're getting really close to wrapping the project up. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So SCADA system repair. So the SCADA system is the interface between the treatment facility and the operator, and those computers have to work. And so our instrumentation electrical techs are very adept at making sure they stay online and they continue to work. So this is a battery replacement, and they can pull that basically the motherboard out, put whatever it is they need to replace into it, put it back on, and kick it on, and you can interact with the treatment facility again.
So what redundancy do you have there? Do you have a backup?
SCADA 2, yep. And then there's backups that happen on site, historian backups. So there's two machines, two systems, and then a backup that's backed up. And just so everybody knows, disconnected from the internet. So these SCADA machines are not connected to the internet. They're connected to the system, to the treatment facility. UV system repair and lock antenna. So it can be as basic as a fuse, which there were fuses that need to be replaced. It could also be as robust as basically the PLC essentially. So our folks keep some of this stuff on hand. So the electricians have a lot of kind of backup equipment, just in case equipment, particularly equipment that has a long lead time. They will hold on to a couple just in case. So sometimes when you look at the claim summary and you see it'll say like sewer floats, and they're going to buy 25 sewer floats because sewer floats have a lifespan. Or you might see monocon, or you might see an HMI, a human machine interface. They're always going to have something kind of in the back pocket so that 2 o'clock in the morning, you can keep the plant running. And then just kind of wanted to touch upon what CCWD experienced last Tuesday morning. It started in the morning with the fires, the TCU lightning complex fires. It was interesting. It was like, I don't know, it was like 4:30 or 5 in the morning. And it was I mean, it's summertime, so my wife thought she heard an explosion in downtown Jackson, and we were like, what is going on? What is that? And then we realized, oh, that's thunder. And then sure enough, as I'm driving in, phone starts ringing, fires in people's backyards. And so it was kind of, as you guys know, it was really moving and shaking. It's kind of hard to see in the image on the left. But for the 2-7 fire, which affected Vallecito, Douglas Flat, Murphy's, 6 Mile, you can see CAL FIRE had set up kind of an impromptu meeting site there at what folks call the school, which is across from Red Hill Road off of Highway 4. And our folks were there. So we had, CAL FIRE, CHP, Sheriff's Department, UPUD staff, and CCWD staff. And basically just kind of fly on the wall conversation about where they felt the fire was moving. As you guys know, with the Watch Duty app, it's like an essential game changer. When we can pull up real time the weather, which is huge for us because then we don't have to get into the emergency operations center's hair at OES and say, has the weather turned? We can see what's going on. So that was really helpful for us, for CCWD in particular.
What kind of service were we able to provide for the firefighters?
So in the Vallecito area, it was literally just communication. So it was, if you need to pull water from this sewage pond, it's full, you can grab water. And that happens generally through the Emergency Operations Center. So the county did not prop up what's called an EOC, Emergency Operations Center, until Wednesday morning.
Mm-hmm.
Late Tuesday afternoon, it was pretty much clear that one was going to happen. So until Wednesday morning, it was literally just phone call. So 6 a.m., Copper Fire. I'm on the phone with Copper Fire. Our field staff are on the phone with all of the fire departments. And then for this fire in particular, our staff were just talking to the CAL FIRE folks on site. And they said, we have this, we have that. There's infrastructure in this area. There's critical infrastructure in this area that kind of helped to inform them. Although, everyone, I think, acknowledges that these fires were rapidly changing and kind of on a knife's edge, turning at a 90-degree angle in a lot of ways, like very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So it was an interesting day, though. 22 fires, 4 counties, I think is what I heard.
I know the guys playing.
So
Scott Green.
this is kind of that school area, and the image on the left gives you an idea how close the flames are. These photos in the image on the right, a lot of them are taken from the turn on Holiday Mine Road to our treatment facility there. So literally across the highway from the fire. They were pulling from stock ponds. This is that school area in the image on the left, the borate on the truck. Obviously we've seen the burn scar off Highway 4 there, the bluffs, and then just some action shots, of our. So these are our treatment and distribution collection system crews going about their business, taking photographs while they're working. And this has been a topic of conversation here at CCWD about not having to, respond for water and sewer services to one fire, but to multiple fires at the same time. And luckily, this fire ended up being a little over 600 acres. I'll take that, Arrow Fire 5,400. So the fires in Copper, I think one was about 250 acres and one was about 1,400. And so staff are working, staff are trying to understand whether or not they have to evacuate. And the power's up. So we have mechanics, the electricians are running around making sure everything's still operating, functioning. In Copperopolis, we have to optimize the system because we have a little bit of some pinch points when it comes to supply. Like, we can feed C-Tank at a much slower rate than we can draw water from. So we need to be careful about where CAL FIRE pulls water. They did pull some water in Copper for the 2.3 and 2.8 fire, but not a lot. They did draw from our Pond 6 at the Copper Waste Facility, and they did use our property to access the 2.8 fire, but it was minimal compared to the Arrow Fire, which was, post CAL FIRE up on 4 different fire hydrants for 4 days. And so we're in the millions and millions of gallons of water at that point in time. So this is Wednesday morning, the image on the right from the Vallecito waste plant. And you can obviously still see fire and just a lot of dramatic images, as I'm sure you've seen. These are a little in my opinion, this got a little interesting. So the 2-8 fire, the image on the left, southwest from the Copper Cove wastewater facility. So those are our staff kind of looking at the fire going, okay, this is going to be an interesting afternoon. So this is as the day has progressed. This is the 2-3 fire in the image on the right, which by 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Tuesday, on the day of the strikes, it was done. This fire was out. And so as, you know, and I think it's tip of the cap to the CAL FIRE folks for being cautious about how they characterize the status of the fire. These fires came back. So this is the 2-8 fire kind of moving along the ridge to the south towards our raw water pump station for copper. So that was our conversation. All of our treatment facilities filled up everything. So normally you have some operating room between the top of a tank, the overflow, and your operating level. And so we fill everything up. And then we increase the plant rate. Even so, the Copper Cove treatment facility flowed at 1250, so 1250 gallons a minute, and we shut down that night. So the plant's rated for 4 million gallons per day, and we were making about what, 1.5, 1.6. So, I mean, I'll take that all day. So our guys were getting ready to leave, and then they go outside and they're like, I think these fires are like coming back. And sure enough, so this is, the image on the left is looking across above the IGA. So this is kind of continuing the arrow fire track. And so the fear was that it was going to come over into the Copper Cove shopping center area. And so our folks just paid attention and reported in, and we would respond to the folks at Calaveras OES and let them know what we saw, and everybody kind of just maintained communication locally. The temperature dropped at night, humidity dropped, and these fires, the crews worked all night on these fires to make sure that they didn't get any crazier than they could have. But some pretty dramatic images coming over behind the IGA there. And then that's my report.
Adding to that real quick, just that some of the infrastructure projects we're doing right now in copper, you know, will increase our capability.
That's right.
Especially that picture and you know, behind the IGA is just, you know, scary for us, you know, because there's bottleneck over there in terms of getting water to that side of the lake. And that's the you know, the seed tank transmission line project we're doing right now, and then the intertie or the
Lake Tulloch.
the water line,
Yeah.
like the intertie that will go, you know, around the lake instead of through the lake. All of these projects are going to increase our capability in terms of making sure we are able to provide as much water as possible. You know, there's always scary scenarios where we're not, and that's the reality of wildfire. But these projects we're doing right now are going to help our capability on that front.
Good report, Damon. Thank you.
Anything else, Damon? All right, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to general manager's report, Michael.
Yeah, just kudos to Damon. Not only a good report, but just his you know, the work that ops has done in particular in those relationships with the Calaveras OES and fire departments, you know, it really shines and shows in those situations where, you know, he's not introducing himself for the first time to these people. They know him, they're comfortable with Damon. He's built those relationships to, you know, be able to really effectively respond both to protect our infrastructure and the communities that we serve, but also make sure the fire department, we're doing everything we can to support them. And that's come through a lot of hard work and consistent work that then really pays off when these incidents hit like that. So kudos to Damon and Jesse and Pat and all the operations, you know, field staff that are building those relationships with the fire departments too. That all goes a long ways. And they did a phenomenal job in responding to these fires. That was a scary situation. So few updates on my end. Really good tour yesterday. We hosted Stockton East Water District. Kelly did a phenomenal job putting the program together and delivering a presentation. We had lunch out at McKay's, and there were some, circumstances that popped up that Kelly and Rebecca had to deal with, but it all came across very smoothly. Kelly gave a great presentation, gave Stockton East, I think, and we have a complex relationship with them, like with a lot of other agencies. And it really, I think, opened their eyes as to the whole breadth of CCWD, beyond just, the issues we deal with them at New Hogan and the Calaveras River. I think they got a much greater sense of who CCWD is, and that was the point of that tour. In addition to, the other point of that tour was just building those relationships and connecting with them more. Six people from Stockton East came up, including their general manager and several of their board members. And it was great. I think they came away from it with a much better understanding of us and us as of them as well. It really definitely served its purpose and was a really good use of time. So I appreciate Director Garamendi, Director Davidson for being there. That really helped, and then Kelly, Rebecca, Damon, and Kevin all really, I think gave a good representation of CCWD. And if anybody ever needs a very vocal backseat driver, I recommend Jeff Davidson.
If anybody ever needs a getaway driver, I do not recommend it.
He's very effective at that.
Not gonna be a getaway driver.
He does that.
Challenge when you're trying to be a tour guide and drive at the same time, there's a lot going on.
He got lost.
But anyway, that was great. Again, Kelly, thank you. That was a really good presentation. Really appreciated that. And thanks to Jake and NCPA too for accommodating us out there. Still, quick update. And we know we do a lot of work with MIA and the Army Corps on funding, infrastructure funding. We have a couple of different projects we're working with MIA on now. To increase our funding through the Water Resources Development Act. But we're also now working with the Corps. We've been communicating very effectively with them, I think, and them with us on the golden mussel issue at New Hogan. And they made us aware of a program that Sonoma Water took advantage of that allowed because it has to come from a partner agency like us or Sonoma. We're able to go through the core appropriation process and secure funding for them. It's not going to be money that comes to CCWD, but we can help secure funding for New Hogan to increase their resources they have available for mitigation, invasive species mitigation. So MIA is working through that process, and the core staff at New Hogan have been great. We have monthly meetings with them now, and they're sharing a ton of information, and really appreciate that coordination.
What will that FEMA money do if they get it for the golden
That's
mussels?
Army Corps
Army Corps,
money.
sorry.
It will help provide resources for them to do invasive species mitigation. And so they were able to get on their own, they got funding for a decontamination station, but they lacked the staffing and the resources to operate it all the time, or even much of the time at all. And then there's some other things that it'll free up some resources for them to staff that and do some other mitigation, invasive species mitigation work there. So
Thank you.
we're hoping that works out. That's a critical water supply for us. So we're hoping they're successful in that effort. UPUD intertie project, continuing to coordinate with UPUD on that. They're really in the lead on it, but Kevin and the engineering team are helping support that effort. And it'll be it's a relatively short turnaround time to get a project design in place to qualify for the current FEMA opportunity. So we'll see how that progresses, but we'll keep you posted on that. Continued coordination with UPUD. And then tomorrow meeting with Valley Springs Public Utility District, with Director Davidson and Director Ratterman, to explore opportunities to, better, coordinate our systems down there where we're very close in proximity. So looking forward to that meeting. And then we have some GSA meetings coming up with Stanislaus County, and we're hoping to be at the Board of Supervisors next month with an update on that front, and we'll be bringing some more information back to this board as well, and how we proceed with our GSA management. And then we have Engineering Committee and Finance Committee in the same week. Later this month, we had to move the Engineering Committee. So folks interested in that, take a look at the new date. I think it's Wednesday, the 17th. Yes. Wednesday, the 17th. Well, Finance Committee the day before that, and we'll be bringing an update to the Finance Committee on the low income ratepayer assistance program, and then legislative activity on that front as well. So want to be responsive to that issue. And then a lot of other work going on, but that's all I have for now. So happy to answer any questions.
Michael, you mentioned the GSA upcoming meetings. I got on my calendar one scheduled for the 14th of October. Is it still on your calendar?
Yeah, we have some, that's the Board of Supervisors meeting. We had coordinated with the county on us presenting at that meeting, and I think that's still on track. We have some preliminary meetings we want to get through to make sure everybody's on the same page and prepared for that in advance, but I'm hoping we keep that date. We need to really move that forward.
Okay, so the meetings in advance of that 14th meeting, you'll let us know when those are scheduled, or?
Well, those are really staff level meetings between us and Stanislaus County and Calaveras County. But as long as we can keep everything on track, I think we're still really trying to hold fast to that October date.
Okay.
But yes, we'll keep you posted.
Good.
All right, we'll go on to board reports. Jeff, do you have anything to report? Future agenda information?
Yeah, actually, I been doing a little bit of just research. One of the things I came across was a number of water districts who have been hacked. And I wonder if we could get a report to the board on what CCWD is doing so to ensure that doesn't happen. There's been ransomware with a water district in Texas, and I'd just like to kind of get a sense of how well we're protected.
Yeah, happy to do that. Well, I would not be doing that as a, but Dylan would be on top of that. So we'll work on a future agenda item for that. But I know he's been very proactive on that front. I don't think anybody can ever be 100% protected, but I know Dylan has been really on top of it. So, but yeah, we can report to the board on that. Yeah, we have.
I could comment on a little bit on that. Our insurance carrier, JPIA, does have two programs that they're working in the background. They're testing our system, and we do have cybersecurity coverage as well. And we don't get that coverage if we're not up to par with that company's. If they see some, our system isn't hardened enough, they'll tell us, and they'll take us off that coverage until we get it corrected. We're on that coverage, and we're good. And there's another company, Know4 is one of them. And they each do something, but we do have, and JPI just hired a brand new cybersecurity person. That's all he does. He's not part of the IT department. He's part of member outreach. So he's member facing, and he'll be in touch with any district that has any questions on that. But I think from what I hear, Dylan and his crew are doing pretty good.
Okay. Do you think it would be usful for the board just to get an overview? Not a long one, but I mean, Damon's reports are really interesting.
I think that would be valuable from we've been hacked. We've been taken advantage of before.
And we have a consultant right now we're dealing with. They were hit with ransomware, and so it's slowed down some of the work on their end.
So we don't need something.
It's a real threat.
Yeah,
it is real.
Yeah.
Is there anything else?
Nope.
Scott?
Yeah, I got a couple of things to report on. I missed our last meeting. I was at a conference, United or Urban Water Institute in San Diego. And there's two very interesting, Mountain Counties Water Resource Association is a member of that. And I went down with Justin one of them was two presentations, one of them from Watch Duty, who is now, one of the founders of that company. They are now all the way across the United States, almost to the Mississippi and they're in touch with every jurisdiction, every fire police, in that entire area. They're expanding to the East Coast and they'll be there. They had other good news to report that when they got more members out of the Los Angeles Palisades fire during that time, they had like 22,000 new members within a couple days. I guess the app had gone out that it was very useful, and their system didn't have any problems at all with the company and all the new members. And they're called Watch Duty, not Watch Fire or Fire Duty for a reason. They're going to be expanding into tsunamis, tornadoes, tsunamis, earthquakes in the future. So it's not just fire, but they're expanding. Mountain Counties is trying to get the same guy to come to our fall forum. It was a great conference. We also saw a guy from US EPA that had a phenomenal speaker, and he's already told us he will be at our fall forum at the Ridge, November 21st. And there are a few other Mountain Counties events coming up, but that was a great conference. Also went to CSDA in Monterey, saw our general manager there. We ran into each other in the hallway. Neither one of us knew the other one was gonna be there, but another great conference. Jessica Self had a great presentation on UPUD and their lawsuits and working with the community to overcome a couple. It was really, really interesting and well attended. A lot of questions. Kevin Phillips was also there from the town of Paradise and giving his story on what happened up there and how to prepare. Also on two different committees. Well, I'm going to Cajapa in Monterey next week, which is California JPA, another pooling conference, more to do with JPIA. And then I'm on two different JPI ad hocs. One is studying our CEO's contract, which renews here the 1st of October. And then another, the JPIA is purchasing a new building in Roseville, and I'm also working on that. It won't be inhabited for about a year, but there's a lot to do. We've already closed escrow on that. That's what I got going on outside of here.
Director Thomas.
Okay, on the subject of cybersecurity, I'm here to tell you that anything that you have to do with PG&E, it is a nightmare dealing with them because of the constant threats that they are experiencing. It makes it very difficult to work with their website, to make an application or something. You keep getting asked about, are you a robot? And then you get just going around circles, and they're very apologetic about it, but it is, I just wonder where all this is going. And it just makes it very difficult to function in today's environment without constant frustration. So anyway, I'm hoping that things can settle down and solutions can be arrived at, but boy, it's tough. And I hope that, the CCWD doesn't get to the point where we're being criticized for doing the kind of things that PG&E is having to do. It's very disconcerting, but that's about all the good news I have for you.
Chad?
Thank you. I had a great visit up country yesterday. I want to thank all staff for putting that together. And Kelly, congratulations on your tent making skills. You're the guy to go camping on Mount Everest with.
That really was the most impressive.
Yeah,
It
you keep
was.
the tent from blowing away on Mount Everest. That's impressive.
Got a bit windy.
Yeah, it's pretty-
It was really important. And I think that getting to know our fellow agencies, especially, we've got business ties together, is super important. So I really valued it. Thank you very much. And nothing else to report, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, same thing. I think it's very important to build that relationship with Stockton East. You know, I mean, most of those directors have been there as long as I've been around. I mean, they don't change much, but you know, any opportunity we have to help them and then hopefully, you know, be helped in the future, I think is good. I really enjoyed it. I was just amazed how engaged they all were on our operation.
Yeah.
And really just, I mean, the one thing that they kept saying is like, God, you guys are so spread out. We just- You know, the thing about Stockton East is they've only got 2 customers. You know, the city of Stockton and San Joaquin County, that's it. And they just send them a bill.
Yeah.
But one thing I found in the conversation, when I wasn't trying to give Michael directions how to get back, with the general manager was, you know, they're doing that Calaveras River project down at Pelota, the fish ladder, and $72 million is what that's gonna cost. And he told me that their future expansion and compliance issues at the facility that we all toured a while back is gonna be $300 million. You know, it's just,
How many of their directors came yesterday?
was it 5?
6,
Was it 6?
6 of the 7? Wow.
Yeah. No, they were
Did
super
we solve-
engaged
did
and
we solve all of our,
I mean, asking questions of staff and, you know, really intrigued of the facility. The 2 guys from NCPA were super helpful as well. We were out on the dam, just explaining, you know, the operation and all that stuff. So, I mean, I was just really surprised that the directors were so engaged in the operation. I think it was a terrific job.
Yeah.
By everybody. So I was glad I attended, because that was the first time I'd ever been to McKay's, also. So. it was
Oh,
cool.
wow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's pretty impressive.
yep. So with that, we'll have a next board meeting Tuesday, September 23rd. We've got a couple closed session items. 8A, Government Code, Agency Negotiation, General Manager Michael Minkler, HR Manager Stacy Lawler, regarding negotiations with employee SEIU Local 1021, and then 8B, Conference with Legal Counsel, anticipated litigation, 2 potential cases. Is there any public comment for closed session? Then we will adjourn in the closed session.
Guys.